Welcome back to another episode of Whole, Healed, and Healthy. I'm glad to be back. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. This week, if I can be honest, has been pretty emotional for me, man. I've been hurt. I've been sad. I've been disappointed, been confused, just a whole host of emotions. And I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of you out there like me who have probably been on this emotional roller coaster all week. It's just been a lot that has happened, a lot that's been going on, a lot that we've been seeing. And I know for me, like my emotions have been all over the place. This week it left me with a new perspective on a lot of people. And it left me with a new perspective of what some people feels or thinks that it means to be a Christian. It left me on a new perspective of what their description and idea of a follower of Christ is. So with that being said, people, I thought that were safe, people I thought were safe spaces, they show me that they really don't have my best interest at heart. And it was just a tough reality to see this week. Like, a lot of people who I looked up to, a lot of people who I trusted, people who were friends, church members, followers of Christ, it just kind of showed me that, a lot of people don't have our best interest at hand. Spaces that I thought were safe, I no longer feel safe in. And when I say safe, I mean physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, right? So I'm not just talking about one type of safe. I don't feel safe spiritually at times. I didn't feel safe emotionally this week. I did not feel safe physically this week. And I did not feel safe mentally this week, just based on a lot of things that I saw. And I just want to share that with y'all. So I realized that I had to remove some people from my life because I want people around me that I feel like I can trust. I want people around me that are safe. That's a big thing for me right now, is that just knowing that I feel safe, because there are a lot of spaces that I no longer consider safe. That's just the intro, right? This episode is kind of heavy. The intro is heavy. I want to welcome you to the silence episode. If I'm being honest, I really don't know where to start. Like, so much has happened this week. So much has transpired. So much has taken place. And I've just been like all over the place. Like, I wanted to record this episode on Friday when I got off work, and I was just drained. And I'm like, I'm going to do it Saturday. I was just drained. I'm going to do it Sunday. I was just drained. It is Tuesday night that I'm recording this. I'm editing it and I'm getting it up because I did not want to stop the momentum of, this season. Like, I'm not going to stop after one episode and take a break after one episode. I want to make sure that I keep going. So yeah, I've been all over the place. My mind has just been racing. It's been trying to process a lot of what I've been seeing from a lot of different people, a lot of responses, a lot of, think pieces, a lot of dissertations, right? Just a lot of the things that I've been seeing on this past week, I've been trying to process, because I'm like, this can't be real. Like, people really can't think like this. People really can't, really say these things and mean these type of things. And it's been weighing heavy on me, again, because there are people and places and things that I considered once safe that right now I just don't know. And I'm okay with saying that, and I'm okay with admitting that, and I'm okay with figuring out, what life looks like now after removing some people, some places, and some things from my life that I don't feel safe around, right? But listen, one thing that keeps coming up, something that I just keep seeing and just like cannot ignore, and is very, very clear, is the gaslighting and the spiritual bypassing. Like, it's everywhere. Like, bypassing how we feel in the name of, it's okay, God's in control, God's got it. Like, yeah, we believe that, that God will make a way. We believe that, if we put our trust in God, that things will work out. But we cannot be naive and cannot be blind to the fact that there are a lot of people who are hurting, a lot of people who are frustrated, a lot of people who are angry, a lot of people who are confused. We cannot ignore those facts. And we have to be able to give people a safe place in a safe space to say that out loud without being gaslit and without being bypassed in what they're feeling. And that's something that I've noticed. I've noticed it for a long time, but this week it's been crazy. I mean, it's just been like all over the place. And I just, me personally, I can't ignore it. I don't want to ignore what people are going through. I don't want to ignore how people are feeling. I don't want to bypass my own feelings. I don't like when people just bypass people's feelings, all in the name of trying to be a good Christian. They're hiding behind, we hide behind these phrases all the time. Like, we just need to love like Christ. And, we need to tell people that they have to do what Jesus would do because, it's the right thing to do. But we can't ignore people's feelings and just say, do what Jesus did, because Jesus never ignored our feelings. God doesn't ignore our feelings. God is not afraid of how we feel. God can handle how we feel. I should be able to take how I'm feeling to him and explain it and get it off my chest or get it off my heart, because it's heavy. It's really heavy right now. And I just feel like we as a community who say that we love God, who say that we trust in God, we have to do a better job at giving people space to just be. We have to do a better job at giving people space to just be. We have to do a better job, I'm going to say it one more time, at giving people space to just be. I've noticed a numbness. I've noticed a lack of unawareness and a lack of people who don't want to feel, people who are refusing to feel what others are going through. This ain't political or nothing like that. I ain't one way or another. This is about really just people learning how to love the way that they say the Christ that they follow loved. Because I don't recall a time when Jesus just ignored how people felt. And the time that we're in, the things that I'm seeing, like, honestly, like, it really scares me. It scares me that people are just so numb. It scares me that people just lack awareness of what others may be going through. It scares me that people lack empathy. We're gonna leave that right there. The blanket responses, the deflections, the attempts to just defend our positions. Instead of trying to respond, to understand. I see a lot of people just defending their position, just defending, what they stand on. And that's fine. Like, believe what you believe, stand in what you stand in. But what you stand in doesn't give you a right to just refuse to understand other people. We are all diverse. We're all different people. God made us all differently. We're all on a different space. We're all on different walks in our journey of life. And we just have to learn to give people space to be. If it's something that you don't agree with, you cannot agree with it and still be respectful and still give a person, the respect that they deserve. But just responding to defend and responding just to say scriptures to get your point across, man, that's dead to me. Like, seriously, like I'm tight on that. Like, I'm good on that, because it is not a safe space to be in. It's not safe for us. It's not safe. It's not safe for all. Not safe at all. Not safe at all. And that really scares me right now. It scares me a lot, because I just wonder, like, do we really have feelings? Do we really have emotions? Do we really see other people for where they at, who they are, what they're going through, where they may be at, how things affect them, or do we just see through a lens of, this is what the Bible says, so I'm just going to do what the Bible say? Listen, I ain't telling you to not do what the Bible says, but I do feel that we need to use some type of reasoning and have some type of understanding, have some type of the Holy Spirit that will say, hey, maybe I should, soften my response, or maybe I don't need to respond. Maybe I just don't need to follow this person. Maybe I need to, unfriend this person. Like, everything does not deserve a response. I just see so much gaslighting. I see so much bypassing, and to me, it's like they brother and sister. Like they brother and sister. They go together hand in hand. Like you're gonna gaslight and you're gonna bypass. You're gonna bypass and you're gonna gaslight. It's like they best friends. They're the brother and sister, in my opinion, of religious harm. Told y'all last episode that I was gonna be pushing the envelope. That I was coming this season to really make us question, to push some subjects and to speak out on things that I see. Because if we don't speak out, man, we're just gonna continue these cycles of abuse, of harm. And these are like principles from last season. If we don't speak out, we're always going to continue these perpetual seasons of abuse, harm, neglect, spiritual bypassing, gaslighting, like all this stuff. And we need people that are bold. Like, I'm not afraid to speak out anymore. You know, I'm not going to sit back and watch people be harmed when I know that I have a voice. I have a small platform. And I know that if I can just reach one person who can, you know, say, you know what, I may not agree with you, but I'm definitely going to see what you're saying. And I may change the way that I approach things. That's what it's all about. Like, we don't all have to just agree, because we're never going to agree on everything. There are some things that, you know, if you agree with, then you're just not gonna be in my life. You know, there are some things in my world that are not considered a difference of opinion. There are some things in my world that I just have to stand on. And racism, hatred, bigotry, misogyny, like those are deal breakers in my life. Like I that's not a difference of opinion. That's hurtful and harmful to people. And, you know, I don't say that, you know, we can agree to disagree on that. Not at all. But if you start to say, hey, like my difference of opinion is racism, I'm tight on that. You are not safe. Your ministry is not safe. What you stand for is not safe. And I don't want unsafe people in my life. Seeing a lot of the comments, seeing people just ignore racism, seeing people ignore violent rhetoric, seeing people ignore just hate speech towards other communities, like seeing people ignore hate speech towards the LGBTQ. Yeah, I said it. Ignore hate speech towards them. Like, nobody deserves hate based on what they believe. I don't care what you feel is right in your heart. Your being right does not give you your wanting to be right and your feeling that you're right does not give you the excuse to ignore hateful speech and harmful speech towards other communities or towards other people who don't believe like you. For me, it's really just about human rights. It's just about being a decent human being. Whether or not you believe in and agree with somebody's lifestyle, that does not give you a right to ignore when others are hateful towards them. Because when others are hateful towards people who look like me, I feel some type of way. When people are hateful towards women, I feel some type of way. So again, just because you may believe one way, that does not give you the right to ignore. Well, I'm not gonna say it doesn't give you the right. I feel like you should not ignore hateful speech towards other communities. They'll ignore it. They'll even co-sign it. And they'd be like, y'all need to walk in love. Y'all the ones with the problem. Like, no, like you are spewing hate and hurtful comments and rhetoric towards me or towards others. And that is not what Jesus would do. I don't care what you say. He would not spew hatred at all. He would not teach and preach harmful theologies. He would not walk around and connect himself with people who taught things that were contrary to what he believed in. I don't care what you say. That's not the Jesus that I believe in. That's not the Jesus that I say I want to follow. That's not the God that I believe in. That's not the God that I say I want to follow. You're not going to ignore all the hate, all the racism, all the misogyny, all the bigotry, and then say, oh, you need to walk in love. What about that is loving? That's what I want to know. What about that is loving? If you can tell me what about that is loving, we good. But there's nothing that you can say that you can justify that as love. I don't care what you say. You cannot justify that as love. Walking in love doesn't mean that I have to ignore the fact that people hurt me or hurt others. And that's what I don't like right now. It's like people want you to just put aside how you feel or how people have treated you and just begin to walk in love. Like, I can love you and I can keep you at a distance. I can love you and call you out when you're wrong. I can love you and try to hold you accountable when you do things that are hurtful and harmful and you do things that cause division. I can love you and still hold you accountable. We live in this society where you hold somebody accountable or you call somebody out on something. It's like you're the problem. You're the problem for calling people out. It's not a safe space. Like, we don't create safe spaces for people to feel like they have the opportunity to address things that have hurt them, to address things that are harmful, to address things that are that don't line up with the Jesus that they say they serve or the Jesus that they say they follow, the Jesus that they say they love. We don't hold space for people unless those people agree with everything that we agree with. And that is not the gospel that I want to follow. That is not the God that I want in my life. Again, this episode for me is a little bit heavy, but I feel it's necessary. I feel that we have to speak out on these things because if we don't, they'll just continue. Walking in love, it gives me the right to call out abuse. And then it also gives me a right to choose to set boundaries based on the actions that have taken place. That's what I feel like walking in love is for me, is that, hey, you hurt my feelings. This happened, vice versa. You can come to me and say, hey, man, like when you said that hurt my feelings. Yo, I didn't realize I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. Let's figure out where to go from here. But walking in love is just not saying what you want to say because Jesus said so. That's not walking in love. Walking in love, again, like I just said, it gives me the right to call out abuse. It gives me the right to call out harm. And then it gives me the right to set boundaries based on actions that have taken place. We're talking about safe spaces. We're talking about silence. This is the silence episode. We're talking about people being silent when they see things, see something, say something is what people say. The notion has always been what happens in this house stays in the house. If I don't, I ain't gonna say nothing. We're gonna sweep it under the rug. But I just feel like if somebody brings harm into my life, into my family's life, into people that I love, if you're bringing harm, walking in love does not mean that we continue or I continue to allow you to harm me, all in the name of Christianity, because that's what's happening. It's like we harm people and we allow people to harm us and we allow people to hurt us, or we put up with certain things all in the name of Christianity when the whole time that thing is not. It's not safe for us. It's not healthy for us. It's not bringing us healing. It's not bringing us wholeness. It's really bringing us division. It's tearing us up inside. So, walking in love, that's just not an opportunity to say and do what you want to do. Walking in love gives me the freedom, the ability to choose to set boundaries based on how I've been treated. It's simple. And I'm really questioning, what does it even mean to be a Christian anymore? I'm dead serious. I'm looking at certain things and I'm looking at certain responses and I'm reading certain comments and just I'm seeing things. And in my mind, I'm really questioning, what does it mean to be a Christian? It seems like the goalpost moves for certain people. Seems like the goalpost is being moved depending on who the person is. Man, according to some of us, some of y'all, some of us, you can build a platform based on hate speech. You can build a platform based on division. You can build a platform based on racism. You can build a platform based on misogyny. You can build a platform based on all these hateful and harmful things. You can spew it. You can say it at the top of your lungs. But as long as at the end, when you say, but Jesus is Lord, you in the club. As long as you put, but Christ reigns and Christ is ruler over all, you in the club. Don't matter how you live. Well, I ain't gonna say don't matter how you live, because I'm gonna say it doesn't matter what's in your heart. Because again, the goalpost is being moved for certain people. Some people, the goalpost is they can't listen to secular music and they not saved. Others can cause hate, cause harm, cause division, can call people all types of names, can speak all these evil things out of their heart. But as long as they say Jesus is Lord, Christ reigns, they in the club. That's a club that I no longer want to be a part of. Y'all can have that club. I'm going to, you can take my membership, revoke my membership. I'm good. And like I said, for others, you can't even listen to Michael Jackson without somebody telling you that you're going to die and go to hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, apparently hate is okay, but Michael Jackson is not. Apparently racism is okay, but R&B music is not. I remember that people would just preach it. You can't listen to that. You can't produce that. You can't play for the world. But then I can't play for the world, but you can go and just spew and say what you want to say and abuse and misuse and mistreat people and do all these evil things that are in your heart. Because like I posted on Facebook, the Bible says that out of the abundance of the mouth, the heart speaks. So what's in your heart, it goes out. That's what's really in you. That's who you are. Jesus even said that it's not what goes into a man, it's what comes out of his mouth that defiles him. And I'm paraphrasing that scripture, but basically Jesus was saying, look, it's not the things that go into you, it's what comes out of you that makes you defiled. The things that are inside of you will eventually come out. And what is ever in your heart, what is ever deep down inside you is going to speak. That's how I judge people. I judge people on their fruit. We tell people, judge people on their fruit, judge people on their fruit. Well, if your tree is filled with hatred, if your tree is filled with harmful speech, if your tree is filled with racism, if your tree is filled with abuse, if your tree is filled with manipulation, I can go on and on. But if that's the fruit of your tree, I have to question, where is Christ in your life? So the goalpost is moved for you, but for others, they can't have a drink. For others, they can't listen to R&B music. You know what I'm saying? Like, the goalpost moves by the second. And I'm just like, bro, we have to do better. We have to have a standard that doesn't move the goalpost. And if your standard is hate, then I'm straight on that. Like, I'm tight on that. That's not the standard that I want. That's not the God that I serve. That's not the Christ that I want in my life. And one thing that I can tell you is that the hypocrisy is real. Like, it is loud. It is real. And y'all not saying nothing. Your silence is loud. Your silence is so loud right now. And it's just like, where do we stand? What's the goalpost? What's the standard? Because saying that one person is a man of God and they have no fruit of the Spirit, but saying another person is not a man of God or a woman of God because they may go out and listen to some R&B or they may go have a drink, but their heart is filled with love. They represent Christ. They have love, joy, peace, long suffering. They have all the fruits of the Spirit. They love people. They treat people right. They do all the things that Christ would do. But because you mad because they want to go have a drink, then they're not saved. They're not sanctified. They're not filled with the Holy Spirit. Like, miss me with that right now, because what I'm seeing is that the fruit of some of y'all is rotten. It's rotten. Again, the hypocrisy is loud. The silence is even louder. The silence is louder. People see, people listening, they watching, they know what's happening, and they see it. What you're not saying is speaking volumes. Because people see it, and I just feel, I have conversations with people, and I ain't saying I know it all. I ain't saying I got everything, that I know everything, or like I'm a guru of this. But the people there are a lot of people that I come in contact with, and we talk and we share things, and this is what a lot of people feel. They say that I'm not walking away from God. I'm more so just walking away from, the hypocrisy. I'm walking away from the double standard. I'm walking away from people who say one thing and do the total opposite. I'm walking away from things, from people, from churches that don't reflect and represent me. Many Christians think that people are walking away from God because they don't believe in God anymore. That's not what I've encountered. That's not what I'm encountering. This is what I'm encountering, is that people still love God. People still believe in God. People still believe in God. People still love God. But what they don't believe in is you. People don't believe in you anymore. And when I say you, I'm talking about people who are loud for one thing and silent for another. Who are loud for one thing and silent for another. People are tired of hypocrisy across the board. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has it all together. We all make mistakes. We all sin and fall short of the glory. That's what people teach. And, we understand nobody is perfect. Nobody is going to walk through this life and make and not make mistakes. Nobody's going to walk through this life and do everything the right way. But there's a difference when walking in this life, walking in love, and recognizing when you stumbled, when you've fallen short, when you've hurt somebody, when you've done something wrong, or when you just refuse to even acknowledge it. And that's what people are walking away from. People aren't walking away and saying that they don't believe in God. They just don't believe in the God in you. And I can say this because I've been on the other side, the side that I'm talking about. I've been on that side for a very long time in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't no shame in my game. I've been the one to judge. And I say this all the time. I've been the one to judge. I've been the one to look down on people. I've been the one to say, look at them over there struggling. I've been that. And then I took a quick reality check to say, hey, bro, like, that's not me. That's what God was saying to me. That's not me. That's not who I am. You ain't perfect. You ain't got it all together. You gonna stumble. You gonna fall. You gonna make mistakes. You're gonna offend people. You're gonna make people mad. But it's what you do when those things are brought to your attention. It's what you do when people say, hey, you hurt my feelings. It's what you do when people say, hey, I was offended by that. Do you just say, oh, you need to mature? You ain't got Christ. You need to mature. Or do you sit down and you have a conversation to understand? Do you sit down and you listen? Do you say, hey, I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart that I offended you? That was not my intent. Now you can again have those conversations after you come to an understanding. Now you have to make decisions based on the results of that conversation. You have a conversation and somebody offends you and you question it, or you guys and you talk it out. And at the end of the conversation, you say, hey, you know what? This is my stance. I'm sorry I offended you. I didn't mean to, but I believe that. I believe in X, Y, and Z. And hey, you have to make a choice. Either you're going to continue to follow or continue to be around that person, or you say, you know what? I think it's best if, we kind of draw some boundaries and, we keep distance or we separate or whatever the case may be. But when you cannot be mature enough to have conversation, that's what people are walking away from. People just don't believe in you. People are tired of the hypocrisy across the board. People are tired of seeing people loud for all the wrong things and silent for the things that really matter. People are tired of seeing people being loud for all the wrong things and silent for the things that matter. And for many of us, that silence feels like betrayal. Like, seriously, like it feels like you've been stabbed in the back. Man, this, I told y'all this episode is heavy. These things have been on my heart, and it's not just based on what we saw on last week and what we saw in just the responses, but it's just been building because it's been going on for a very long time. And I just kind of think like last week brought it all to the surface. And people really are starting to see that this gospel that some people preach, this God that some people believe in, this Jesus that some people believe in, it is not safe for them. It is not safe for everybody. It is not safe for everybody. And I think people are starting to see that. I believe that God is a safe space. The Bible even says that the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run in and they are saved. So I believe that God is a safe space. But it's how he's being represented. And it makes it feel like it's not safe. It makes it feel like certain churches are not safe. It makes it feel like certain people of God, certain pastors, certain prophets, apostles, whatever you want to call it makes it feel like those places are not safe. And we have to do better. Again, for many of us, the silence, it feels like betrayal. You're loud about sin, right? You're loud about sin. And when I say sin, I'm using that term broadly. Whatever you want to feel in as sin, whatever the sin in your life is, whatever you feel like is sin, you feel it in. But people are loud about sin, but they're very, very silent on racism. They're silent on injustice. They're silent on abuse. They're silent on manipulation. They're silent on control. They're silent on all these things that are very, very harmful to a lot of people. They're very silent on them right now. And it's just hurtful to see. It's hurtful to say that we're supposed to represent a God who loves all, but yet we don't love all. It's hurtful to say that we represent a God who loves all, but yet we don't protect all. It's hurtful to say that we represent a God who is for everybody, but we're not for everybody. Man, it's tight. It's tight. It's tough. But it has to be said. It's like, especially this week, we all been on Facebook. We all been on Instagram. We all been on TikTok, Threads, whatever your social media of choice is. We've all been there. And a lot of things that I've been seeing, it's like people are dodging accountability. I'm seeing pastors post certain things, and then when people reply to them to gain understanding, they give blanket responses. They don't really address the issues at hand, but just kind of, again, it goes back to that bypassing. They bypass, they gaslight people, and just like ignore, what's being called out. And it hurts. It hurts me because I want to be a good representative for God. I want to represent Christ in the best way that I can. But it hurts me to see people dodge accountability like that, especially pastors who are leading people, pastors who are supposed to be looked to, that when crisis happens, that we can lean and depend on you to guide us through these things. But when you refuse to even acknowledge people in your comments, acknowledge people who may be a part of your ministry, man, you are creating spaces that are not safe. Your silence is loud. It's like they won't even acknowledge the pain that people are experiencing. They won't even put a name to this racism. They won't put a name to this injustice. Like, they won't even speak on abuse. And it's sad and it's hurtful. It's very, very hurtful, because I see people out there who just need something that they can trust and depend on. And the thing that they think and they thought that they could trust and depend on is letting them down. This is not the God who we are supposed to represent. We are not, I'm not going to say we, because that ain't me. People are not representing God in a way that shows that he is loving, that he is kind, that he is faithful, that he is there for us, that he can handle the weight of our care, of our burdens. He can handle the weight of our pain. He can handle our questions. He can handle when we're unsure. He can handle when we're having questions and having doubts. God can handle that. What I'm learning is that people can't handle that. People can't handle that. And I'm like, okay, if you can't handle it, just say, I don't know. It's nothing. I would rather you tell me that you don't know than to gaslight me and bypass how I'm feeling. I would rather you literally tell me, hey, you know what? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. That would give me more comfort than you just saying, hey, you shouldn't feel like that because God is in control. Bruh, I feel like this for a reason. You don't have to have all the answers, but at least be honest enough with me and say, hey, I don't know. Let's go figure it out. And if I can't figure it out, let's go find somebody who can. If I can't help you, let's find somebody who can. And I think that, hearing those responses, it hurts, because people give their time, they give their trust, they give their money, they give their energy, they give all these things to these churches. And now these churches that were supposed to feel safe are no longer safe for them. They're silent on the issues that matter to them. But when it's time for the pastor to actually pastor, they're on silent. When Beyonce, everybody on mute, they on mute. It's like they on D&D, do not disturb, like an iPhone. It's like they're nowhere to be found. You looking for a response. You looking for just a something to say, hey, like, we stand with you. It's silent. It's like you're loud for all this other stuff, but silent when it comes to Black Lives Matter. Silent when it comes to George Floyd. Silent when it comes to police shootings. Silent when it comes to racism. Silent when it comes to hate towards the LGBTQ communities. Now, y'all gonna get in here and say, oh, you talking about that? Yeah, I am talking about it, because people are walking away from the silence that protects power but not the people you said God called you to serve. You protect power, but you're not protecting the people that God called you to serve. That's a big deal right now. That's a big deal. You know, this is what people are walking away from. The silence that protects power, but not the people that you said God called you to serve. And it's just like, it is not a safe space. It is not a safe space anymore. The church, not all churches, but the church in general does not feel safe. So I'm going to ask you a question like, have you ever had to grieve a space that once felt like home? Like, have you ever had to grieve a space that once felt like home? Have you ever had to look around a church and wonder, how did we get here? Shoot, not even church, around your family members, around a job, around friendships, just any space. Like, have you ever had to look around and be like, yo, like, how did we get here? Like, what the heck happened? Have you ever sat in silence, afraid that if you spoke up, you'd be the next one pushed out? Like, have you ever just sat there and you wanted to say something, it was bubbling up inside of you, but you knew that if you spoke out, that you were going to be next? Like, have you ever had to sit in those spaces? Like, have you ever had to watch people just be berated and not be able to say anything, but you knew you should have? Like, that's a very unhealthy place to be in. That's a very unhealthy space to be in. And I'm asking you these questions because I just want us to stop and think about some of the spaces that we're in now, some of the spaces that we've been in, and even some of the spaces that we may be in. Like, if you see something wrong, are you going to say something? If you see hurt, if you see harm, if you see abuse, if you see manipulation, if you see control, if you see these things that are hurtful and harmful to people, are you going to say something? I just want to ask you that question. You ain't got to answer me. Answer yourself. Listen, I'm going to say this. Listen, if you are heartbroken about what happened last week, but you didn't say a word about George Floyd, stop. I need that Michael Jordan meme. Stop it. If you heartbroken and you toe up, and I'm not saying this from a place of not having empathy or sympathy for what happened, because that was terrible. Like, I don't condone that type of violence. No one should lose their life in that manner. That was terrible. That was terrible. I don't in no way, shape, or form condone violence. So I'm not speaking from that. But what I am saying is that I've seen people heartbroken and talking about how heartbroken they are, but they never said a word about George Floyd being unalived while we were watching it. They never said a word. Never. I mean, like, never said a word about it. So, if you heartbroken about what happened last week, but you didn't say a word about George Floyd, like, I kindly need to ask you to stop. I need you to stop. Listen, if the phrase Black Lives Matter offend you, if that's offensive to you, I just need you to stop. I really need you to stop. Like, seriously. But Jordan say, stop it. Get some help. For real. I need you to stop. If the rights of the LGBTQ plus community, if their rights don't matter to you, I need you to stop. Like, seriously. Like, I don't get on here. Well, I believe this. The Bible say this. The Bible say that. Look, I'm not here to debate scripture with you. I'm just here to let you know that if you don't have the decency to just care for people who don't believe like you, who don't look like you, who don't think like you, who don't live like you, if you don't have the decency, just the human decency to care, I just need you to stop. Stop it. Jordan said, stop it. Get some help. Stop. Get some help. If you just don't have the decency to feel for others that don't look and believe like you, stop it. I'm dead serious. Stop it. Just stop it. I'm here to love. I'm here to spread love. And if you around me and you not here to do the same, you can take that somewhere else. If you ignore hate, again, racism, misogyny, bigotry, if you ignore any of those things, hurtful speech, hate rhetoric, if you ignore that all because a person said Jesus is Lord or a person says Christ reigns, man, get away from me. Please. You will not hurt my feelings. I will not shed a tear. I will not cry. You can get away from me. And I love you. And I mean that with the utmost respect. You can keep that away from me. Please and thank you. Seriously. Like, people's view of what Christ stood for and who Christ stood with is definitely one-sided. And that's why I say all those things. Like, I just see like the Christ that people believe in is one-sided. The Christ that people follow is one-sided. The Christ that people tell people they love is one-sided. So if you can't stand with other communities, if you can't stand with people who don't look like you, if you can't stand with people who don't think like you, if you can't stand with people who don't believe like you, I'm tight. So as we wrap this episode up, I want to debut my new closing segment. It's called Come to the Altar. Y'all know in church, y'all know you've been in church, they have altar call, and that is my closing segment that I've been working on and something that I've been wanting to add. It's called Come to the Altar. And today I want to invite a few people to the altar. I want to invite, all the pastors, the prophets, the apostles, all the ministry leaders, all the leaders who have, these huge platforms. I want to invite y'all to the altar today, and I hope you hear my heart. Listen, I hope and pray that, those who have been silent, and it's not for all pastors and apostles and prophets and ministry leaders, but the ones who have been silent, I really hope and pray that you start to use your voice for change. Like, you really start to use your voice and be a change agent. So, I can sit here and I can address what I see. I can make 1 million podcasts. I can make 1 million Facebook posts. I can reply to all your comments. I can get into your comments. But something that I do know is that sometimes when you hear something from someone you consider a peer, that message, it comes across a little bit different. They say it's not the message, it's the messenger. So sometimes when you hear something that comes from a peer, that message holds a little bit more weight. Listen, man, we need our leaders to come out front. Man, we need y'all. We need those who are willing to call out those who refuse to speak on injustice. Man, we need you. Like, we need your voices. We need you to stand up. We need you to be loud. We need pastors who will hold their peers accountable, especially if they have a black congregation. Yeah, I said it. We need pastors who are not afraid to hold their peers accountable. We need people who are going to call out the silence. Come on. We need people who are going to call out the harm that's hiding under the name of God. We need people who are not afraid. We need people who are not ashamed. Listen, I've heard pastors preach Sunday after Sunday. Listen, trust God in your giving. Know that if you give, it's a sacrifice. Know he's going to make a way. Well, listen to me. The same thing that you told me, that same trust that you told me to have, I need you to have it too. I need you to have that same trust that you told me when I gave my last $50 that God will make a way. I need you to trust that if you open up your mouth, if you speak on injustice, if you speak on racism, if you speak on bigotry, if you speak on misogyny, come on, if you speak and call these things out, I need you to trust and know that God will make a way for you if you start to lose members, if you start to lose relationships, if you start to lose money, because a lot of these pastors are afraid of it because they know what they're going to lose. Well, listen, the way that y'all told me to trust God in my giving, when I gave, when I did not have it, you told me to give my last 500, my last 20. The way that you teach and preach to trust God in your giving, I need you to trust that when you take a stand for him, that he will make a way for you. I remember I was down to my last 50. Several times I've been down to my last whatever. And I've just been told, trust God. Trust God's going to make a way. Trust God is going to come through for you. Trust God is going to do it. I'm telling you, trust him. I'm telling you now that you need to trust God the same way that you tell your congregations to trust God in their giving. If you speak out for truth and you lose people, trust God. No, I'm dead serious. Like, if you speak out in truth and you lose people, trust God. If you speak out and you lose influence, trust God. If you lose money, trust that the same God who sustains your ministry now will sustain your ministry when you walk in integrity. Trust him. It's simple as that. It's simple as that. If you lose members, if you lose money, if you lose relationships, if you lose that all in the name of God, then it's worth it, right? What shall a man profit if he loses his soul and he gains the world? Ain't that what y'all preach? Ain't that what you teach? Don't you teach us that, you got to trust God in your giving? Well, I'm really asking that if you take a stand for what's right, you hold your peers accountable, you speak out, you stand for what's right, you walk in love, you walk in integrity, and just trust that God will sustain you like you told me that he would sustain me. Trust God. Man, so listen, I love y'all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Again, this episode was a little heavy for me. It was probably felt like it was kind of all over the place, or, a little rushed or whatever. But again, that's just because I know that for me, speaking out like this in this platform is new. And I just want to make sure that I bring love, that I do it with integrity, that I do it, in a way that is not hurtful, it's not harmful, and in a way that calls out things that need to be called out. Because again, this was a heavy episode. I struggled. I had something else that I was going to do, and I didn't want to just get on here and talk about this and like do a reaction to the things that had happened last week. But man, it was just weighing heavy on my heart, just some of the responses, that I saw to the things that happened last week. And I was just troubled. Like, I was really troubled in my spirit. Like, this can't be like, this can't be the standard of what it means to follow Christ. Like, that can't be the standard. Like, hate can't be the standard. But some people, not some of us, but some people believe in that gospel. That ain't me. So again, I love y'all. I mean that. I want to see us whole. I want to see us healed, and I want to see us healthy. That's the bottom line. I want to see us in safe spaces that we can share, we can talk, we can have open dialogue, we can have open conversation, even in things that we don't agree in. And after those conversations, we can make wise decisions that say, hey, you know what? I'm going to set some healthy boundaries because, I don't want to take myself to a place that I don't want to be, or, oh, I didn't know you were a safe space. I like what you said. I think we should connect, so I just want to create a space where we can have healthy dialogue, and heal in a healthy way, heal in a positive way. And part of that healing means having tough conversations. And for me, this was a tough conversation to have, but I love y'all. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Until next week, be whole, be healed, and be healthy. I love you. Peace.